So if you're telling your kids, well, the important thing is that you are a role model for your kids. So they will watch you, and if you don't want them to do something, and you ask yourself, why are these kids this way? Think about why they are the way they are instead of complaining. Because if you try to understand why, by even talking to your kids, like when you have a conflict with your children, ask them why they're doing what they're doing. What is the reason? And sometimes even kids, they won't understand at the time. But if you try to understand them, take the time to understand them, they will eventually open up. Because I think what is very important is a sense of trust between the child and the parents. Because if there's no trust, when your child is going through their own personal conflicts, if they can't trust you, they will not turn to you. And I think sometimes that it can be very hard for the child, because inside me, growing up, I think at junior high, I used to write a lot of letters to other people, and sometimes I think my mom happened to find one, and I was talking about like our family problems, or how I felt about my parents, and she didn't like me doing that because she's like, oh, our family problems have to be, you don't discuss family problems outside the family. But then I couldn't feel comfortable to even speak with my own parents about how I truly felt. Because one of the things that I wrote in one of my letters was, I feel, I appreciate that, my parents paid for my life to raise me, educate me, but sometimes I feel that money and it's not, all this other thing is not enough. I want them to show that they care for me in the social aspect, spending time with me, and getting to know me, know who I am, and I think that if you truly love your child, you'll want to spend this time with your kids. Because growing up, I felt like a lonely child. Even though I knew how to be friends with people, inside I always felt different. And when people would criticize me, friends, then I would shut off, and I would go into my corner of the field during recess, and I just sit there by myself, wondering, why am I different? Because actually, for me, I'm very different. Every child is different. But for me, I actually was a child who thought a lot. I would think a lot. And because my friends, they would think about shallow things. Shallow as in, what's hip these days? What's trendy? What are the celebrities doing? What's the celebrity gossip, right? And then, but for me, actually, I wanted to talk about boys. I wanted to talk about dating. What makes a relationship work? But the friends that I had, they couldn't understand what I was going through, what I was thinking. So I mean, what is very important is that children, and even as they grow up into an adult, they need this constant they need to feel accepted and loved. And when you can, as parents, as parents, you can nurture that when they're growing up. You have the power to nurture them because, okay, so when I was growing up, I felt that the criticism from my parents was like very negative all the time. And I understand now that in the Asian culture, they say, oh, we criticize you because we love you. Nobody else will say this to you, right? So, but the thing is that maybe if you can change it a little bit to start with the positive feedback, oh, sweetie, you said this really well, or you did this really well, but, this is what I think you can improve on. And then you end it with a positive, note, like, but I think you did a really good job. Just, work on this, and then next time you'll be better. I know you can do it. When you have this positive attitude towards your kids, and not be like, oh, why did you do that? It doesn't feel good. Like even if your own parent was to do that to you, if they're very critical of you, would you like that? Maybe even try to put yourself in your own kids' shoes, because I think that's going to greatly help your relationship with your children. So, so I definitely think that, what's very important is that you be the change you want to see in your kids. Like if you want your kids to be a certain way, make sure that you're that way. Watch yourself. Because an ounce, like Gandhi said, he said that an ounce of practice is worth more than tons of preaching. So, yeah, your kids are watching you, in a subconscious way, And so, let's see. How much time do we have left, or how long have I talked already? I spoke for 45 minutes. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I just told you, a somewhat sad. Actually, the one last thing I wanted to also mention is that mental health is very important. Because if you can help to your child's mental health, I think this will truly allow them to have a bright future, to believe they have a bright future. And so, in a way, how I was talking about trust earlier? If you can develop that trust with your children, they will confide in you, even when they have personal problems. Because actually, I know that, because in college, I had suicidal thoughts. I couldn't tell my parents at the time. And I didn't do it because I knew that it wasn't going to make my family happy. So I didn't commit suicide. And I think that what's very important is that if you can develop this trust with your children, they will come to you with their problems, and they won't feel stuck with feeling like they have no one to talk to. So because sometimes I've also done my own, little research on the tendencies of suicide among Asian Americans, because they get so pushed by their parents so much that they're constantly studying, and it's very, very stressful. And I'm sure that some of you have even gone through some of this yourself, because this is what your parents taught you how to be. And the research that I found was that part of the Ivy League schools in the East Coast, Yale, Columbia, that there is a tendency for when there is suicides, that most of them, or a good portion of them, are Asians. And so this is why I tell you today that your effect on your children is so profound in there, because you shape the way they see the world. And so I thought, I thought I was supposed to be perfect. And so I thought everyone else was perfect. All the supervisors and parents, they're supposed to be perfect. But later on I realized, no, that's not true. No one's perfect. So, but through my life experience, I believe that, everything has turned around for the better. I want to be a role model to the younger Asian American generation. I want to become the motivational speaker, and I'm aspiring towards it. And I want to become the next Asian American Oprah Winfrey. Because I want to be that influence on your children. Because those children are tomorrow's future leaders. We need to empower them, and that will empower us. And so I leave you with this quote. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Thank you. So, do any of you have any questions? And I can also leave you my contact information if you have any other questions you don't want to raise here. And I plan on writing a book, I'm not quite sure when that will come out, because I'm so busy doing other things for my future, networking and working on public speaking. Yes, I definitely welcome feedback too. So yeah, okay.
How's your relationship now with your parents?
Oh, okay. How's my relationship with my parents? Actually, it's much better. I was really surprised when I told my mom that what my career goals are now. She was very surprised. She's like, wow, it's much different than what most people take. When in our society, everyone thinks that, oh, you're supposed to go to graduate school and then you get a PhD.